Have you ever imagined driving at night and instead of being guided by the kind of harsh glare of streetlights, you're following a soft, gentle glow coming from the road itself? I mean, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But it's an idea engineers have been chasing for years. Today, we're going to dive into a really ingenious new take on this dream, one that borrows its best tricks directly from the natural world.
It seems so simple, doesn't it? Just have the roads soak up sunlight during the day and then release it as a nice, gentle glow at night. So, what's the holdup? Why isn't every single highway and bike path already lit this way? Well, as it turns out, the dream has run into some pretty harsh realities.
On one hand, you've got the promise, and you can see it beautifully realized in projects like the Van Gogh Path in the Netherlands. I mean, it's a stunning, totally energy-free glowing bike path. But then, there's the reality. Trials in places like Malaysia have shown the costs can be incredibly high. We're talking up to nearly 750 ringgit per square meter. And what's even worse, the key ingredient, this powerful glow crystal called strontium aluminate, is extremely sensitive to moisture. So in humid climates, it just gets wrecked. And that beautiful glow, well, it just fades away.
But cost and durability are really only half the story here. There's another, more subtle problem with the way we do things now, our streetlights. They contribute to what scientists call ALAN, which stands for artificial light at night. Now, what's really fascinating here is the ecological impact. Your traditional street lamps, they pump out a ton of UV light, which is basically a tractor beam for nocturnal insects. It pulls them away from doing their jobs, disrupting pollination, feeding, and the entire ecosystem that relies on them.
Okay, so we've got two big problems on our hands: a glowing paint that can't survive the weather, and streetlights that are actually harming the environment. The solution we're looking at today, the Lumen RoadCoat, doesn't just try to solve this with better chemistry. Nope. It solves them by looking to nature for a little inspiration.
At its heart, the RoadCoat is this super sophisticated, multi-layered paint. You gotta think of it less like a simple coating and more like a high-tech sandwich. Every single layer has a very specific job to do, borrowing ideas from some of the toughest and smartest materials in the biological world, all to protect that vulnerable, glowing core.
All right, so let's pop the hood and deconstruct this RoadCoat to see what makes it tick. We're going to look at three big ideas that make it all work. And each one is just a masterclass in bio-inspiration, starting with the armor for its glowing engine. So first up is the engine itself. This is the strontium aluminate crystal. And it's fantastic at its job. It soaks up sunlight, especially the violet and blue parts of the spectrum, and then it just slowly releases it for hours as a bright green glow. This stuff is the magic ingredient, but as we already know, it's also the Achilles heel of the whole system. It desperately needs protection. So how in the world do you protect millions of these microscopic crystals from water and the crushing force of traffic? Well, you give each one its own tiny suit of armor. And in this case, that armor is the hollowed-out shell of a pollen grain. Yeah, you heard that right. These shells, called spiropolyene exine capsules, are one of nature's toughest materials. They're incredibly resistant to chemicals, moisture, physical stress, you name it. So by tucking each glow crystal inside one of these tiny natural vaults, you've basically created a waterproof, shock-resistant little package. It's a brilliant and super low-cost solution that's sourced from agricultural byproducts. How cool is that? Now for the final layer of defense, and this is the Smart Shield. This layer, called the UV gate, does two critical jobs at once. First, it's inspired by the natural sunscreen found in algae, and it blocks the specific UV wavelengths that attract all those insects, which helps protect the local ecosystem. But at the same time, it lets all the good stuff, the visible blue and violet light, pass right through to charge up the crystals. And as a little bonus, it even includes these intricate silica shells from diatoms, which scatter light sideways to charge the crystals even more efficiently. It's just genius. Okay, so we've got a tough, eco-friendly paint. Awesome. But what about that other huge problem, the massive cost? Well, this is where the RoadCoat gets even smarter, using a really counterintuitive idea from the animal kingdom to slash costs while boosting its ecological benefits even more. So the project has a really ambitious cost target, 140 ringgit per square meter. Now remember, previous trials were as high as 749. To get the price down that far, you can't just make the paint cheaper. You've got to use a whole lot less of it. But how do you do that without making the roads less safe for drivers? And this just brilliantly illustrates the solution. Instead of painting a solid, continuous line, the RoadCoat is applied in this broken, fractal zebra pattern. Now just look at this comparison. With this pattern, you use about half the material, which just slashes the cost. But here's the really genius part. Driver visibility stays just as high, and on top of that, the broken pattern is way less attractive to insects. So you're getting the same performance with half the paint and a fraction of the ecological impact. It's a total win-win-win. This quote just nails the strategy perfectly. It's inspired by studies showing that the stripes on a zebra actually disrupt the vision of biting flies, making it harder for them to land. So by applying that same exact principle to road markings, you create a pattern that our eyes can easily follow from a distance, but that confuses insects up close. It's such a simple, elegant, and incredibly effective idea. So this Lumen RoadCoat presents a super robust, cost-effective, and ecologically sound design. But here's the thing, this isn't just some concept on a whiteboard. It's a technology with a clear and practical roadmap to get it out of the lab and onto our actual roads. Let's take a quick look at the timeline. The plan kicks off in 2026 with some really rigorous lab validation, testing for durability, glow retention, safety, all that good stuff. By 2027, the goal is to have pilot roads up and running in both dry and humid climates to really test it in the real world. From there, it's a phased scale up to full kilometer-long roadway deployments between 2028 and 2030. This is a serious, staged plan for bringing this tech to market.
And the vision doesn't even stop with just glowing. Because the RoadCoat is really a platform technology, it can be enhanced with other smart materials. And the most exciting one? Blending in something called thermochromic pigments. This would let the road markings automatically change color, say from green to cyan, whenever the surface temperature drops near freezing. It would give drivers a clear, unmistakable warning of icy conditions ahead. The road itself would actually become a communication device.
So, we started with a simple idea, right? A glowing road. And we ended up with a smart surface that protects wildlife, saves energy, and could one day even warn us of danger. It just goes to prove that the solution to some of our biggest challenges might be right there under our feet. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. If our roads can do all this, what other intelligence are we going to build into the very ground we travel on every single day?